Picture your ads are like a sales rep. You know, a lot of businesses are willing to hire a sales rep. That person can sit there and, work the phones or contact people and nurture leads and bring them in. That's what your ads are doing all the time.
Like
Yeah.
in the beginning, you kind of have to say yes to everybody. One,
Right.
because you need the money, and two, you probably should because you need to know who you like working with.
Whether it's mental health, physical health, it's hard to do all of these things at once, but make sure I'm putting time and resources into those things has been well worth it. And I was literally like crying in the car. I was like, what is going on? Why am I so emotional right now? You definitely get to the point of like nothing matters, like all these little things, like even the business. We're running Facebook ads here. Like this is not life or death. Like you can work really smart and not work 80 hours a week. I'm really big on, I don't ever want to work more than 40 hours a week. I don't ever want to work on weekends.
What do you think happens when we die?
What do I think happens when we die? I think reincarnation. I think we come back in another life form, maybe an animal. I don't know. I think our soul lives on.
Okay.
One way or another.
That's exactly what my last guest said, which is kind of interesting. Does that impact how you run your business at all? Is that like something you truly believe, or?
I do believe that, and I just think any of us could die at any moment, and life is not for granted. So just whatever, take risks, do whatever you want. Yeah, I think you got to kind of live life fearlessly to some extent. Maybe not recklessly, but fearlessly. And yeah, you can't sit on something that you've been thinking about wanting to do forever. Like that is just the worst regret. And if that means leaving your full-time job and starting a business, like you need to go try that. You can always go get another job. If it means you want to totally change up what you're doing in life and go live off the grid because that's like where you're calling, then you should go do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's all it is. Don't live with regret and take risks because you don't know when it can end.
For anybody who doesn't know you, maybe just get like a rundown of who you are and what you currently do.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Brian Cleary. I'm the founder of Interlace Digital, and we are an e-commerce growth agency, meaning we help primarily Shopify brands grow their revenue through customer acquisition, and we do that through paid ads on Meta and Google, as well as helping them with their monthly ad creative as well. And as of late, we've started to branch out into Shopify design and some email marketing, which kind of complements our goal of helping them drive more revenue. But that's our whole goal: drive performance and help them grow.
Yeah, I think that's I've noticed that in your language, it's the performance partner. I can't remember the exact verbiage, but it's like smarter than say we're your agency. It's like
Yeah.
it ties it to something tangible.
Yeah, performance marketing is a term in the space, primarily for paid ads. So everything we do when we report with clients is like money in, money out. And a lot of agencies say, we'll help you grow your business. It's like, get more leads, or like, what does that mean? Or they do branding work. And it's like, yeah, we're going to help you grow. Like, we basically don't stick around unless you're actually growing. So if you're spending 10K a month on ads, we better be seeing 20, 30K a month coming out of that. So we're doing it in a way where we are helping these the e-commerce industry makes this possible because everything is online transactions. So we can very clearly report how much money they spent with us and how much they got back, and if their revenue is growing. And sometimes we help clients, double revenue in, months. So it's substantial, but also puts more pressure on us to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we won't stick around. And our contracts are built that way as well. It's very month to month. If we're not driving growth and serious revenue to your business, it's not really going to make sense to keep us as a partner.
Yeah, I find that for what I do, it's not necessarily ads driven. So sometimes it's hard to have those conversations of like what results look like, where it's like, I'd be really nice if I can be like, we did this, you made this, versus a lot of it, whether it's like just growing your brand, it's like, well, like people don't necessarily attribute to like, oh, I got more conversations or someone recognized me. It's like, they don't think of that as like a result of something. So that's something I do wish like I've actually been thinking about getting more into ads for a specific a niche of just so we can say, we spent this much, you made this much, it's working this much. And it's hard to do that when you're talking about just growing like overall brand presence.
Yeah. And we do some of that as well. I mean, it's tough, especially in a market like Buffalo too. You have a lot of, mom and pop shops, small business, brick and mortar, retail or restaurants. And it is much harder in those instances to, track a transaction from an ad. But at the end of the day, if you are spending money, there's always an output on the other end, but you need to track that, whether that's going to be followers, whether that's going to be, you're looking at your monthly sales. And I think a lot of people, when they get into marketing or specifically with paid ads, they kind of do it once. It maybe works or doesn't. And they're like, oh, well, that must not work for my business. And it's like, honestly, you probably need to spend consistently for, at least 3 months to see how that goes. And then zoom out. It's like, okay, the 90 days prior, how many deals did I close, or what was my monthly revenue? And then here's the 90 days I spent 10K in ads, and was there a jump or not? And if you don't see a correlation, you can always go back and test other things and refine what you're doing. But there will be, an output for what you're running in ads. Most people don't track it long enough or well enough to understand if it even, worked.
Yeah. It's like people will say like, I worked out for a month and it did nothing for me. So how many times did you work out? Once a week.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I probably need to work out either more or for longer. I think a lot of people, because it's money out, which is tough, you want to see the money in faster. But I think a lot of people, patience is probably the hardest thing to do, especially when you're spending money on whether it be like content with me or running ads at a high level with you.
Yeah. I think it's for people that aren't running ads and maybe are used to, I don't know, more traditional business setting, it'd be like, picture your ads are like a sales rep. A lot of businesses are willing to hire a sales rep because that person can sit there and, work the phones or contact people and nurture leads and bring them in. That's what your ads are doing all the time. So like, would you hire a salesperson, and if they don't close a deal in the first 30 days, they're fired? Probably not. You're probably giving them that first at least couple months, maybe 6 months. There's goals that they're trying to hit. Your ads are very, very similar because they also get better as you run them more consistently and you get better data. So that's one way to think about it. What kind of time span would you give a new sales rep to grow your business?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of similar how you could think of ads, because it's out there basically, fighting for your brand to get interest and draw somebody in and capture them as a potential customer.
And I think it's important too, where if someone says it's not working, to figure out where it's not working, because it might be like the ads are working fine. Your sales process is where it's falling short.
Yeah.
Is that something you kind of help people with? If you're like, hey, we're getting you a bunch of qualified leads, but your close rate's pretty low, and you help them like figure that out? Or is that something you're like, go for it yourself?
Yeah, you have to look at the whole process, everything from your brand and your product first and foremost. Like if you can't get sales organically and like have built traction yourself, just diving into ads is going to be even more hard or more difficult. And I always think it's really funny. Obviously, founders are always very biased about their business, and we have, we're the best at this, or like our product is, there's nothing out there like it. And it's like, that's usually not the case. There's probably a lot of options out there, whether they're, a direct comparison or just another solution that they could go for, whether that's like a physical product or a service. And so ads they will teach you very quickly. And because you're spending money into it, you feel even more how good your product is, how good your offer is, and how good you are at communicating that, because it's basically a faster way to test.
Mm-hmm.
And when it all clicks, when you have a great product, you have a great offer, your ads will convert and you will grow customers substantially. And so it can be intimidating, but it's also a very good like look in the mirror of like, how good is your brand, how good is your product? The ads will tell you, immediately.
Yeah. The faster the feedback loop, the better. But sometimes it's more painful. A lot of times we put things off because we realistically know the results might not be what we want them to be, but you need to see that faster so you can pivot faster, as opposed to spending all this time fixing something that you don't even know what needs to be fixed.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how long has Interlace been like a thing?
So me and my now I'm the sole owner of the business, but I did start with a co-founder. We actually met remotely in a Facebook group back in like 2017. I was still working full time in the agency side of things in Buffalo, and so we actually filed an LLC in fall of 2018 before even meeting in person, which is funny now because that seems like a little bit more normal since COVID. But then everyone was like, "What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean you started a business with someone you never met?" So yeah, we kind of we're just like freelancing together. Like I did, marketing, more like design and ads, and he did web development. And so it was kind of a good fit for us. He was out in LA, I was in Buffalo, and we just kind of did our thing and shared clients. And then about a year later, September of 2019, that's kind of when Interlace actually started. I left my full-time job and went all in. So yeah, we're coming up almost on our 6-year mark, which
Cool.
seems insane.
Yeah.
But we also had kind of relaunched the agency in fall of 2023, which was an experience of its own. But yeah, so that's kind of where we've been.
What was it? What was it like to quit full time and say we're doing this on our own, or I'm going to be responsible for what I bring in?
Yeah, for me, I was in a great job working at the Martin Group at the time, which for me was kind of like my dream job in Buffalo. Really, like really great agency, and got to work on really big clients, like notable brands, and so it was a lot of fun. So for me, it was more about I definitely built it up as a side hustle, which I recommend to anyone. Instead of just like jumping and being like, I'm gonna, bring in sales. It's like, no, get something going. So I think we got it to a point where like I at least know I could rely on like a couple $1,000s a month, like my bills would be paid. And at this point, I'm still like single and living in an apartment, so it's not like I had a ton. So I just wanted my basics to be covered, and then I felt better about jumping ship. But I found myself waiting for like the right moment, and then I just had to accept like there really is no right moment outside of, okay, I have enough security, I think, in what we built so far that I can trust it. But I still hadn't met my co-founder at that time in person. So I left my full-time job in September. I think it was in July. I actually booked a flight and was like, all right, I got to go to LA and meet my partner Sam in person, if I'm going to actually like quit my full-time job and go all in on this. And my family was like, you better like drop your location, like you're going to get catfished. Like they were, again, this was like pre-COVID. So they're like, what do you mean you're going out to meet someone
Mhm.
even like working with online? It was just like kind of foreign to them. So yeah, once I did that, it was just time to go, like it was time to go for it. And looking back, I think it was the right move because Lord knows what would have happened once the pandemic came around. Like I could have got laid off, or there's so much uncertainty. So it's kind of better just to be like out on our own
Mhm.
and doing digital marketing work, which like all of a sudden was the only thing people could do. So yeah, timing wise, it worked out.
Yeah, I can have that similar or not similar. Like I had a time where it was like you have to do this, and it was because of COVID, which is kind of it was weird. I lost a job at a marketing agency. I was back working at Best Buy, and my video thing was like doing pretty well. And I was like, I think I can do this. I think I can quit. And then COVID happens, and Best Buy's like, hey, you don't have to work if you don't want to. And I was like, well, I'm not going to work. Why would I? Why would I come back? So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm out. And I was able to get the unemployment because of it, which helped me supplement. I mean, I wasn't making much at Best Buy, but I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
got something.
but yeah, but then kind of like what you went through is when COVID happened, online presence became so important.
Oh
So it
yeah.
just kind of worked out. Um, so yeah, but there never is, if you're waiting for that right time, you might be able to recognize like, this is the time I should try to take the chance. But other times it's like, just go.
Yeah. COVID was like a blessing and a curse because it basically put us in a vacuum, like this unrealistic situation of everyone had all this digital marketing budget. So, in our first, I don't know, 12 to 18 months, we went from 0 to like 6 or 7 full-time employees. And I had no idea what I was doing. Like I never ran payroll, and like we were paying for office space in Buffalo and LA, which also, if you're going to start a company, don't hire people in New York and California, arguably the two worst states, just from like a legal perspective and like taxes and all that to hire people. So, but yeah, then, everything kind of, the market corrected itself in 2023. And so everything we had built up, all this payroll, all these fixed expenses, the team, um, it was not what we needed at all once everyone kind of came back to earth, and, budgets and how people were spending just kind of leveled out, and the economy was like somewhat unpredictable, and it like still is for people. So um we kind of had to like come back to reality. And so that's why there's been like two versions of Interlace. It was like basically pre-COVID and COVID Interlace, which was like, you know, an unreal time for digital marketing and e-commerce. Like everyone was just spending all their money in that space. And then coming back down to earth and like actually having to build the right way, and really look in the mirror of like who we are, what are we offering, what is the value here? Because it wasn't as instantaneous to like land those clients and projects as it was during the pandemic. And so yeah, that was really tough. Like we had to lay off staff, which was like devastating to me. I never wanted to have to do that. And so we went all the way from a team of, 7 employees with the co-founders, or yeah, me and my co-founder. Then by 2023, I had taken it all the way down to myself and 2 contractors, and I bought out my co-founder. It was like total reset button. But I knew in my mind like what I had to do next. And luckily I was very fortunate to have a co-founder that was also a friend, and we still are. And so we were able to do it in an amicable way, which usually you hear those stories about founders splitting ways, and it's kind of like a nightmare. So we got super lucky. And so since then, now we've built back up to kind of where we were, back to a team of 7, and hiring more here in Buffalo with still some, like international contractors and stuff as well. And so, yeah, that has been, a roller coaster.
Yeah, that's something I'm terrified of is scaling too quickly, because I've worked with clients of mine that once we started working together, they started doing really well and they started hiring people. And then specifically, remember one client, I was buying my car at a dealership and they call me and they're like, "Hey, I'm shutting my business down. It's too much." I was like, "What do you mean? We have like 8 contracts together. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?" She's like, I scaled too quickly and now I'm panicking, and then something I'm just terrified of. So right now I have 3 editors, but they're all overseas. But I know someone here would be like, even to help run these cameras while I'm doing this would be really helpful. Um, when you say build back the right way, what is that? What did you learn from the first time to doing it the right way?
Yeah, kind of what you just explained. Like, we scaled quickly, which even looking back, we probably could have done it differently, but I don't know if we would have known to do it differently. Like, we had a lot of clients. We were growing fast during the pandemic, like during 2020 and 2021. So we had to hire. In hindsight, like, we maybe could have done it smarter with contractors and like not bringing on actual W-2 employees. That's where it gets tricky, because you have an obligation to those people as well. And so, yeah, we got bloated. Our operating expenses were super high. And as we lost clients, like, it was basically trying to push sales forward even faster and like collect invoices to stay afloat, because we had so much fixed cost in the business with our staff and offices and everything, just how we were operating. So our business was still, our operating expenses were as if we were still in 2021, but now we're in 2022, 2023. Clients are handling their budgets differently. We're trying to figure out which clients we want to work with. And, that came back down to the team as well. So and getting rid of team members and like laying people off was always like last resort. And I think what most people, they just see the end result where it's like, oh man, Interlace had to like fire their staff. Like, that looks terrible. Like, me and my co-founder, we operated at a loss for almost like 9 months. Like, we had built up enough, and we had, just like everyone else, had leveraged like the disaster relief loans, and we didn't qualify for like the PPP, like payroll, relief type stuff, but we had gotten some funds and like, leaned on that, and then like cash flowed what we could. But we were in the red, like losing thousands of dollars a month for literally 8 to 9 months, where it got to a point and I'm just like, this is not how a business should operate. Like, it should not be this hard. And so, zooming out and realizing kind of how we got to that position was, humbling and like sobering. And we had to make those really hard decisions to let people go, which was awful. And then basically my whole goal from that, and even like parting ways with my co-founder, it was like, I'm going to be profitable every single month. Like, I don't care what that means. I don't care if we're doing 20K in revenue, we're doing 50K in revenue a month. We need to maintain at least, whatever it is, like 15, 20% profit margin. So understanding profit and like running lean and not building expenses or hiring until you really need to was probably the biggest thing to learn. And so, we've just gotten back to that. And even now I have, one full-time employee, one part-time, and a handful of contractors, and just a bunch more selective when we hire, because for myself and my team too, I now want to make sure if I am going to hire them, I'm putting them on a good growth path as well. Like, I don't want to just hire you to hire you, and then all of a sudden now there's stress on both sides to like make this work. It's like, I should be hiring you, and here's where I want to take you in the next 6 to 12 months. And so that's just come through a lot of like trial and error and learning. And I still feel like I have no clue what I'm doing all the time. And so, that's just what we were faced with, but now we're much better for it. And sometimes I have to remind myself, like, now we are a healthy business. We've been around for over 5 years. We're putting out like really good work, and the team is like, is awesome. And we're actually building culture. So yeah, it's just way different. But I don't think we'd be there if we hadn't gone through, kind of that mess coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think myself included, we can look at like what our revenue coming in is, like we're doing great. But then we're like, we don't always look at our expenses. Like, wait a second, I'm making this much, but I'm spending that much. And it's like, maybe like for me, like maybe I should get rid of an editor, but I don't. I feel like that I can't imagine that conversation. Those got to be really hard to do. But at the end of the day, like you have to look out for your business so you can look out for like the rest of the team or even yourself. And it's hard to balance it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And now I'm like, I'm an open book with my team. Like I talk them through our revenue and profit, all of it, and like what our profit margin goals are, because they need to understand as well. Like if we are not hitting these targets, the business is not healthy. This does not allow us to grow. This doesn't allow us to put money back into the team, professional development, marketing, anything to actually grow the business. Like you have to protect your bottom line. And it was the same for us. Like as we grew, again, we were like naive, we're just like ignorant to it. We were in our first year or two of business, and we were just looking at revenue. We're like, whoa, like look at all this money, we made. And then it was like right out the door, we were like spending just as much as we were making. So it didn't matter. It looked good, on paper initially. And then you actually dive into the numbers and you're like, oh, wow, this
Yeah.
is actually a mess.
Yeah. Like it's
Uh,
cool to be able to say like on a post, like, oh, we're bringing 20, 30 grand a month, but
yeah.
then no one really knows like, but I'm spending, 15 grand a month on
Yeah.
bills.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like we had scaled up, I think, and we did like a 60K month, and I was like, this is insane. And when I'm looking at our bank account, and I'm like, where is this? Well, what do you mean we did 60K? Like, where is the money?
Yeah.
And it was just flying out the door as fast as it was coming in. So yeah, that was hard to learn. But that's probably like any business or any new challenge you take on. You got to kind of figure out how it works and learn the hard way.
Mhm.
And then make sure you're getting better from it as well. You can't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah. Um, has your client, like your ideal client, changed from when you started to where you are now?
Definitely. That was the biggest thing. When I talked about like restructuring and rebuilding the right way, I'd gone down to kind of like a mastermind event down in Nashville with this group that I'm a part of. And I remember going down there. I was there for the first day, and in the first like hour, I had a conversation with a guy who was probably doing like over 100K a month or like maybe almost 200K a month, and he only worked with like I think it was like just financial professionals, and there was another guy who only worked with dentists, but they had like 200 clients, and like yeah, I have this one system, I use it for them, and I just replicate it over and over, and that was so eye opening to me, and I'd kind of known that like people say there's like you know the more you like niche down, the better it is, the better your pitch is, all of that. And it made sense in my head. But then to hear from these guys, like how they were operating and growing, and then I'm over here and we're servicing like any type of client. We're doing marketing automation, we're doing websites, we're doing ads, we're doing social media, and like we were doing a good job of it, but we're kind of like, doing a little bit of everything, but we hadn't mastered anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I made the conscious decision to focus into e-commerce and like Facebook ads in particular, because that's where my expertise was. And it was also when I look back at our clients, the most fun we had and some of the best results we had gotten. So, that wasn't easy, but it was just like, let's just make the conscious effort. Like, this is what we're going to go after. And even now, like we still have a couple clients and, projects that fall outside of that, but we're still working on that. Like we want to be selective. It just makes for a better relationship with the client. Even down to how me and the team operate, it's easier for us if we're dealing, we're constantly solving these same types of problems and addressing these same types of brands and the scenarios they're going through. So I definitely recommend that. I don't think you need to cut yourself off to the world, but the more you can be known for, one type of work or one type of result that you get for these businesses, everything else just kind of flows off of that.
Yeah. One of my biggest shifts for me was taking that step to niche down, and it has since changed. But my coach at the time was like, hey, you don't have to shut yourself off to the world. You can still take on whoever you want. But in terms of like your messaging, it's going to be so much more dialed in, and you'll be able to, you know exactly who you're trying to target. That way you're not wasting time doing anything else. And my recent niche down to just helping professionals, but in a specific way. To your point, it's like, I want to be, if I'm out shooting, at your business here and maybe covering an event here or doing some reels at a house for a realtor over here, I can't get really good at one thing. And that's why I want to be the person for a specific thing. And I think the more successful you are, you're awarded that. Like in the beginning, you kind of have to say yes to everybody. One, because you need the money, and two, you probably should because you need to know who you like working with. But I think it's definitely been the biggest unlock for me is whenever someone reaches out to me and says, how did you do it? Or what should I do? I'm like, well, who do you help? And they will say, I help businesses. I'm like, try again.
There,
Like,
no, there are definitely levels to niching down, and we did the same. Like when we first narrowed it down, I was like, all right, we cut out services that we didn't want to do anymore. We kind of looked like where our revenue was coming from, and first we niched down to like just paid ads and social media content. Then we took it even further and we cut out organic social media content. We're like, we're just going to be the paid ads team. And to your point, we kind of just niched down to a service and a solution and provided that to a lot of different businesses. Then you could take it a step further, provide it to one type of industry, and then you could take it another step and go just a specific persona in that industry. So you could do paid ads for Shopify brands. Then you could do paid ads for Shopify brands in the beauty space doing at least $1 million a year. You know what I mean? So you could take it as far as you want, and people do it on varying levels. But my hot take has been and still is that I believe full service agencies, specifically like mid-sized full service agencies, are a dying breed because it is just way too hard to be a master at 6, 7 services, and really be impactful with the clients. Like, and that was even part of me going into paid ads. It was like I would look at how these creative agencies run paid ads, and I'm like, man, that is just, it's okay, but like you should be going way further with that, but you can't because you're dedicating time to website development and branding and social media. And social media management is probably the one where it's like most evident. It's like you look at every agency's like, yeah, we do organic social media. It's like you look at their social media, it's not good. You look at the client's social media, their audience hasn't grown in 6 months. And it's like, but brands are just like, oh, we know we need this. So we put our agency on retainer, and they just, they post for us and like put graphics out. And it's like, go work with an actual social media, or even let alone like an individual creator, and see how fast you grow on that channel versus sticking around with like a small full service firm. It's just, I think it's already started happening because I've seen a lot of them even in the local market start to niche down and refine what they're doing. And so I think it's a matter of time. You still have the really big agencies that can do, they got 100 people.
yeah.
Okay, they can provide a lot, but they're working with enterprise clients that move at a different pace as well. So for small to mid-size, I think it's really hard to be full service, and I do not recommend.
Yeah. And I think the faster that happens, where everybody is a specialist in a certain thing, it's going to be a benefit to the clients in terms of the results they get. What I'm seeing, because I'm noticing that too, is the clients, though, I don't think see that, and they think that someone should just do like, I mean, it'd be nice to just go one place and pay everyone. Is that, or pay one person to do everything for me? Um, is that something that you find people have come to you in the past and say like they're looking for an all-in-one solution, and you have to kind of tell them why you don't do that?
So I think clients are getting smarter at the end of the day because they are starting to learn more. And we've started to just now over the last 3-4 months, branch our services out a little bit into like, we'll do some Shopify design, or we'll do some email or text marketing on Klaviyo. But those are two very specific solutions that we know our e-commerce clients need and that we can execute at a high level. And out of our roster of over 20 clients we work with, we're maybe doing that for 3 to 4. So even if we do go branch out, we'll kind of test the waters, prove that we can do it well and at a really high quality and driving results before then we go and say, hey, yeah, we're an email marketing agency now. Like I still don't even, if someone were to ask, I would just be like, no, we don't necessarily do that unless we start growing with a client on the paid ad side. And it's like, hey, how else can we help you? Okay, cool. We do have a team member that, has experience there. Let's see if we can deploy them and do something in a meaningful way. And then we can grow from there. So I think there are businesses, but I think they learn the hard way. Again, if you go hire an agency and kind of try and go full service, I think you'll just grow slower. The results will not be as impressive. And don't get me wrong, like these agencies can still have good success. And like, I just think it's harder for both sides to grow at a pace, or in a real intentional way because you're trying to like wear all the different hats.
Yeah.
And I would say like if you had a budget of whatever, 5 to 10K a month in marketing, you're better off going with like one specialist and own one channel, like go crush paid ads or go crush social media first with that whole budget and really get that working, then go branch into something else. Or if you have enough, hire a couple specialists for the different areas and let them own it. Like some of the brands we do work with, they have a separate email marketing agency. And honestly, like that's great. It actually works better for us. We don't have to worry about it. And if they're executing on a really high level, like why would you not go that route,
Yeah.
So you just gotta understand and I think a lot of agencies are selfish for the sell, like getting the sale, the upsell, the cross sell. Oh, well, this is only, we're only getting 2K a month, but if we go do this and we go do this, then this can be 5K a month. And it's like, so they take it for the sake of their own revenue and building their team and being able to pay payroll and all those things. But it's kind of to a disservice of the client. If you're really not an expert in that, like that $1,000 a month they might be spending with you in their retainer for social media would be way better spent going and like hiring individual creators or like partnering up with maybe a video editor to do short form video in a meaningful way, So you just have to assess where the budget's at. And I think because the economy is putting pressure on brands as well, they are starting to assess where every dollar is going, and it has to have a clear meaning in the output it's driving. So I think it's getting there. But yeah, some brands I think are still maybe have a good partnership or are still learning through it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I get excited when I hear someone else is working with another agency for something I don't enjoy doing, because that means I don't have to do it and they're not going to ask me to do it. Like I have a client who I do all their video and their organic stuff for them. And I just found out they have like a marketing agency running their ads. I'm like, perfect. Because that means I don't have to do anything. And if those ads do better for them, they have more money to then ramp up their other stuff. So it's like, I think once everybody gets on the same page, it's going to be better for literally.
Yeah. And I think for, like recall, when other clients are in a pinch and they need a solution, I think I, at least personally, have built up a reputation like I'm the ads guy. You need Facebook ads, like people that know me would be like, oh, go talk to Brian, or like you're working on Shopify, Brian and his team. I think Brian and his team do that. So even just recall like what your agency is or your business is and what they provide. People do remember that if they're seeing your content, they've met you a couple times, they've heard you talk about it, or they've heard a success story. It's just you're giving yourself that much more opportunity to be the person they go to for that solution versus, a more general service provider might be like, oh yeah, they do marketing. Go talk to them. It's much different if someone comes to me and is like, yeah, like I heard you do Facebook ads for ecom brands. Like, here's what I have. I'm like, cool. Here's the solution we provide. It's a way better conversation. And, again, it like benefits both sides if it works out.
Yeah. What are, what is like one of the more challenging times that you've had running this business besides the early, like having to tear everything down?
Yeah. That was definitely one of them. I mean, I think about once a week, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like every business is like that. It's just stressful. But there was a specific period, and not to keep going back to that time where like we restructured, we laid off, we had to do all that stuff. But personally in my life, I was in a point where my wife was like 8 months pregnant. We're in the middle of trying to close on a house, which as like a business owner, closing on a house is just like way different. Like they're auditing you, A to Z, the last 3 years of what you've done, looking at your P&Ls, everything. So we're going through the home buying process. We're about to have our first child. I'm still running the team and growing it, and the business has been stressful. So much so to the point that I I actually broke out in shingles, which like I think most people don't get shingles until you're like over the age of 60 or 65. And so I went in and I'm like, I don't know what this is. And they're like, yeah, they're like, it's shingles. It's probably stress induced. And I was like, it was like a wake up call, because I don't ever see myself as a very like stressed or like anxious person, or at least at the time I didn't. I'm like a very, for the most part, like even keel, like monotone kind of person.
And we're kind of the same in that, I think.
Yeah. And so I come home and tell my wife I have stress induced shingles, and she's 8 months pregnant, like trying to get rid of it. She's like, what the hell are you stressed about? But I was just going through like XYZ with the business and personal, it was all coming together at once. And it was brutal. Like I just felt like my hair was on, my head was on fire. I'm just like, how are we going to make it through all this? How are we going to make this go smoothly? And, you just kind of like day by day, take the right steps and try and do the right things. And it all worked out. But that was definitely, going through that period was really difficult. And then, yeah, I mean, that's probably the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you work through that? Or what have you put in place to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Yeah. I definitely did a 180 when I took full ownership of the company, and I've taken it forward, because I was willing to bet on myself, and I knew I had to also improve myself personally. Like, if I'm going to do this, if I'm actually going to build, 7-figure agency and hit the goals I want to hit and build the team I want to build, which like is what we're still working towards, I knew it was going to take more out of me. But even now, like recently over the last few months, I hired a therapist. So like every Monday morning, it's like my first call of the week. I have like a virtual therapist. She's awesome. And it's like, it was basically a point where I didn't want to, especially now we have 2 daughters, my wife and I didn't want to like get off my work day and go unload on them, if I had a hard day. So I'm like, all right, let me get myself an outlet that I can just like vent and like
Mm-hmm.
work through these things. So that's been really big. And then just having the right people around you. Like I try to be really selective in like who we hire and make sure I have some sort of, connection to them. Whether that's like through the interview process and it just clicks as like a cultural fit, or I literally have like a personal connection through a friend, mutual friend or colleague or something like that. That's really important. And then I invest pretty heavily into being a part of like paid communities. So like even as an agency, we probably spend $3,000 a month or more being a part of e-commerce based communities where we have access to other founders. I get on calls with other founders. I'm also just like always trying to learn from them as well. So that to me, like just staying in the mindset of like nothing is very helpful. And just making a meaningful investment into like your own, whether it's mental health, physical health. It's hard to do all of these things at once, but make sure I'm putting time and resources into those things has been well worth it.
Yeah. So when you were going through the shingles episode, was that when you had like nobody on the team, or like you were doing way more?
I think it was just a lot of things happening at once. That was kind of at the tail end of us like growing really fast. So we had like huge payroll. We had team members in New York and California, and it was just like it was like we were living paycheck to paycheck. Like the
Mhm.
business on paper was, growing, and it was maybe even impressive to like the outside point of view. But internally, like I was like, this is not operating well. I'm having to put out fires everywhere. I got team members doing social media content. We got website projects that are behind. I'm just trying to do the right thing on the paid ads. And then I had all this stuff going on in my personal life. So I think it was all of that
Mhm.
together, which was, just really tough.
Yeah.
And so I had to kind of like really reflect on like what are we doing here?
Yeah.
That this shouldn't be operating this way. And it probably still took another year, to really like make that click and make hard decisions. But I think that was just like the peak of a lot of it. Like
Yeah.
business was big, but so was the risk we were taking, and then had all this personal stuff going on. And so it was just kind of like the perfect storm.
Yeah. I
And
think,
you
I'm
know,
sorry to cut you off.
no, you're good.
I think having a community that you can like talk about specific things is so important, because running your own business, like for me, I don't have a team. I have nobody to talk to. I talk to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Like I literally will go on my morning runs and I just talk to it so it
Yeah.
can learn about me and like bounce ideas off of. But um, my wife doesn't want to hear me talk about business. But then I'm like, well, who do I talk to? But that's probably the biggest thing I get from whenever I join, whether it be a course or something like that, is the community that you have, that you can like just lean on other people. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs think like, I have to do this myself to show people that I can do it. But it's like, get help. Everybody has help doing something. Even like Josh Allen has a quarterback coach.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they all have, like, people have help for different areas of their life.
Yeah. 10 out of 10 recommend, whether it's a business partner, a mentor, or just a group that does the same thing as you. It's just so worth it to be a part of that. And even recently, up until like just last week, I actually went to, it's the first time in a couple of years I've gone to another mastermind event. And I just went out to Wisconsin, like just north of Milwaukee. And it was a meetup of, around 50 e-commerce like brand owners and founders that are all in this group I'm a part of called Foxwell Digital. And it was awesome. Like it was just, especially having not gone to one for a couple of years, like I participate in the group all the time. There's like a Slack channel and calls, and we're a part of it. But I actually had like this emotional like breakdown and release like leaving that trip. I was only there for like 48 hours, and I was driving back to the airport, and I was literally like crying in the car. I was like, what is going on? Why am I so emotional right now? But I think it had been the last like year and a half or two of like rebuilding the agency, taking the ownership as the sole founder, rebuilding the team. And I think it just got back in this room of other people that are doing it, at the level I'm at, or they're just getting started, or they're way beyond me doing tens of millions of dollars. And I think it was just like this feeling of like, okay, I am where I'm supposed to be. These are like, these are my people here, and just being able to relate to them and have these meaningful conversations for 48 hours in the middle of freaking Wisconsin, like it just hit me. But at the same time, it wasn't like sad. It was like a happy release of like, okay, I'm on the right path. It was maybe validating to some extent. And also just like lit a fire in me, like I gotta take these next steps. We gotta grow. You know what I mean? Like I gotta start assessing my time again. Like where am I putting my effort and energy? Because what got me to 50K a month isn't going to get me to 100K a month.
Right.
And it's not going to give the opportunities to my team either. So that was huge. And so I feel like I have these moments every, well, a couple times a year. I don't know. They come out and it's just, yeah, you got to see where you are in the bigger picture and like what you need to do next.
Yeah. I think it's important to sometimes step away from the work, even though you went and did work related stuff, but like just get a different perspective on things, whether it's people who are where you were a few years ago, like, okay, I remember that. That was fun. I remember those challenges. Then to see the people way ahead of you, like that's it's just like to recontextualize where you are and like that's where I want to go and that's where I don't want to go. I
Yep.
think it's really important. Um, how or have your motivations for why you do this business changed from when you started to now having a family? How did that impact how you run your business?
Yeah. I think this doing my therapy sessions is something we work on is like what's your purpose, your vision? Because as a business owner, like you have to have that. Like you're the one driving the vision, the dream for the team. Like not only do you have to be motivated, the people around you working on it have to be motivated as well. Your clients need to believe in what you're doing. So you do have to be strong in the direction you're headed and being able to communicate that. And I'm still kind of figuring that out, but yeah, definitely I think having kids and like just like building life at home with my wife and our children, you definitely get to the point of like nothing matters, like all these little things, like even the business. We're running Facebook ads here. Like this is not life or death. And I think as you get older too, you hear, friends and family go through hard times or there's like tragic situations or you just have like bigger things going on in the world right now, right? Like there's pretty polarizing topics left and right in like the political and economic climate. So I think just getting older, I just look at that and I'm just like, okay, let's realize like what we're doing here. It's just marketing in our case. It's not that serious. Let's work on being really good at it. And just working on like balance. You know, not working to the bone. Like you can work really smart and not work 80 hours a week. I'm really big on, I don't ever want to work more than 40 hours a week. I don't ever want to work on weekends. I rather spend that time with my family, my friends, making memories, like that sort of stuff. But just putting time in to those things is extremely important. And I think it's really easy to get caught up on like, well, if I put in the effort now, like I'm going to grow. Like, yeah, but like life is also passing you by. So like go, just go outside,
Yeah.
go take your dog for a walk, go do something else. And if you build your business in a meaningful way, you should be able to step away and it's not all going to fall apart. So, if you can do the work to build out systems, refine the business to operate in a smarter, more efficient capacity, then you can take time off and like things aren't going to break.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's important.
I was just saying to my last guest that the whole work smarter, not harder is definitely applicable, but I think you have to work really hard to begin with so you know what to work smart on. And I think a lot of people either try to just optimize their systems before they really know what they're trying to optimize, or they just, grind their face off and never take a time to like work on the business to make it systemizable so you can go and take some time off. Or like if you're trying to hire employees and it's all up here. Like
Yeah.
I was hiring an assistant and we sat down and I was trying to explain what I do and I couldn't do it. So I was like, she just looked at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, all the context is here. I can't get the words out. So I think it's important to, yeah, to work hard on everything so you know where you need to make it a system to be repeatable.
Yeah. I also think like vision planning is super powerful. Or just even writing down on paper like what is the life what do you want life to look like 3 years from now? Whatever that might be. Your personal income, where your business is at, how many team members do you have? Who are you working with? Like map that out for yourself because you can, and this has been a big unlock for me over the last like 2 years. I feel like after I turned 30, I started to like look at this like, okay, what am I doing? What is my real goal here? And again, I'm still refining these things, but I kind of have an idea of like the size I want to get my agency to. Like I don't see us being a 40-person plus agency. If it goes that way down the line, it goes that way. But in terms of my short-term goal, like I have real expectations over the next like 3 years of where we're going to get to and how that affects me personally, where I'm spending my time. And so I think if you can literally lay that out, like, what do you want your income to be? What do you have to get to in the business to enable that? How much time do you want to spend on the business? Because if you want to sprint and double your business in the next year, okay, yeah, you're probably logging 80-hour weeks and you're probably going to drive yourself insane, but you're going for that outcome. If you can zoom out and you want to build whatever 100% over the next 3 years or whatever it might be, like, you can move at your own pace too. So if you look at the link, stretch your time frame a little bit and get very detailed about what you want to do, what you want your personal life to look like, then you can reverse engineer the business from that and see where you want to get to. And it feels much more attainable, or at least you feel like you're working towards something that you've set out for yourself. And
Yeah.
it's not just grow, 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 grow. I'm going to get rich. Like,
Hmm.
that's not a good plan.
Yeah.
So that's something I would encourage everyone to do. And that's something I wish I did earlier on in the business, because I think I would have saved myself some time and energy that probably went into things that weren't helpful in the long term, but it was just busy work and it felt good in the moment because it was bringing in $1
Yeah.
or something. And so that's, maybe that comes with maturity as a business owner, but the more you can actually look at that stuff early on, I think can save yourself a lot of headache and, maybe achieve your goals or vision faster as well.
I think something I struggle with is our baseline becomes the normal very quickly. Like, usually it's like, get to your first 10K month, and you do that for like 2 months, and it's like, hey, now get to 15 and 20. But once you get to that 20K month, you're like, everything below that sucks, or like, I need to do more. So I think having that goal and like being okay that you hit that goal and not immediately trying to jump the next mountain, I think is really important, because you need to time to just be like, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
Let me sit here and just make it consistent, and then just take some time to like be in that moment
Yep.
and make sure, like, okay, do I want anything else, or am I just caught up in trying to get the chase? I think sometimes is um more addicting than like once you get that thing that you want, you're like, okay, what's next? It's
Yeah, I agree. That was one of the more powerful moments I had on this trip I just went on recently. We did this little exercise with the whole group. Everyone basically wrote down, like, what's your big life dream? You can make it as outrageous as you want, but like, what is that? What would you have to do to actually get there? And then we kind of shared those with the group, and you could kind of see if there was maybe someone you could help on it, or like if someone had a similar goal. And then having those conversations with people, like, yeah, some people are running bigger businesses and they want it to go bigger. Somebody mentioned there might even be a book out called this, or a theory on it called Stop the Scale. And it's basically like, you can stop scaling whenever you want. You don't have to grow. Some of my favorite times in the business, or my favorite year, was still like our first year, where we were just side hustle and making an extra, maybe 20, 30K that year as income on top of our full-time jobs. Like, there was just something beautiful in that. It was really simple. It was just me and my co-founder, like, grinding out work and having fun with it. Once you start hiring team members, you start getting bigger. Like, it does add stress in different ways. Not everybody wants that. Like, I met some people over the past week that just do really well for themselves as a solo consultant, and like, that's all they want to do. And I'm like, honestly, stay there. You know what I mean? Like, stay there, work with the clients you want to work with, take care of yourself, and maybe put that in. Maybe you want to put money into real estate, or maybe you want to get into a different type of business. Like, those are also areas you can go.
Yeah,
Um,
I think in goal setting, a lot of people forget about what lifestyle you want to have. It's usually, I want to be making this much money, doing this and this with this private person. It's like, well, how do you want to run your day? And I think
yeah,
that's really important.
right. Yeah, and mine's, I mean, we built a remote agency, before it was cool, I guess, right before pandemic. We didn't maybe know it was cool, but it just happened that way because we were remote in nature with me and my co-founder. But now I'm super big on flexibility, and I want more of it. I want more time freedom. I want more flexibility, but I need to build a business that's meaningful, and provides that same opportunity to my employees as well, my team members. And so that's something we work towards. But yeah, like, when we did that exercise, my dream was basically to, achieve some level of financial freedom for myself, and travel the world with my family. And that seems like kind of cliche. Like, a lot of people want to do that, but I do genuinely want to be able to, like, take my wife and my daughters and, like, go, I don't know, spend a couple weeks in Europe, and like, maybe the business is still running. Maybe I still check in, I do things, but like, I have that freedom right now. Like, I have location freedom. I have some time freedom. And if I can do more of that and have the income to back it because the business is running at the scale it needs to, then that becomes very achievable. or to start other businesses and stuff, which I'd like to do. And it's like, yeah, that stuff can happen. It might take time. Like you got to get there, but work. That's where you got to work on like a 3 or 5 year mindset versus what am I going to do this year? I'm going to double the business this year and I'm going to become a millionaire in the next 6 months. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you could try and do that. You'll
Mhm.
probably go insane. Or like, what if you just did that over the course of the next 5 years and maybe even a little bit bigger?
Mhm. I think when you have a longer term plan, it helps any of those hard moments just be easier. Be like, well, that's fine because this isn't where I'm staying. I'm going here. It's like, yep, there's a bump in the road, but the road is much longer. I'm
Exactly.
not ending at this bump. So what's kind of next for Interlace? Like, are you guys like taking on more clients right now, or what's?
Yeah, we are in like growth mode right now. We've really gotten to a place where the agency's consistent at the level we're at, and so now I'm basically committed to the team. Like I'm getting myself out of client work. I'm still going to be able to advise and obviously work on client strategy and check in with team, make sure we're executing on a high level. But I totally trust my team 100%, which is awesome. That's a place we haven't always been, and we just have like good synergy right now. I'm like, okay, you all are going to own the client work and you're going to focus on client retention and client success and like let's keep getting great results. I'm going to go over here and work on content and marketing and lead gen, and like that's a part of the business I've never taken serious time to build out in a meaningful way. So that's what I'm working on right now. Of like we're going to go get more ecom brands. We're going to continue to be known as a Shopify partner, and we're just going to focus our energy there. So I'm getting more active in my organic content. We're going to be running ads with like lead funnels and all that good stuff.
Mhm.
And so that's where I am focused to get the business to. I'd like to double the size we're at now um, over the next 12 months. So but
I
we're
thought
at
you
a place where we've got systems,
are gonna say next 3 months. I'm like, come
Yeah,
on.
no, not at all. We have some goals that we've been on track for, this year. I think we're up maybe 50 to 60% year over year as an agency, which is really great. But we run a lot on like monthly recurring revenue. So we're trying to hit like goals in our monthly recurring revenue, which is really great for our cash flow, and we can continue to grow from there. But with profit margins in mind, we can't
Mhm.
scale and just like obliterate our profit.
Yeah.
It needs to be in a smart way. So that's maybe if it takes a little more time, okay. But we need to focus on like the quality of clients we're bringing in and the quality of work we're putting out as well. And if we do that, my other goal is to start a brand or eventually own a small portfolio of e-commerce brands that we own and operate.
Mm.
There's a lot of other agencies in the e-com space have started to do this, and there's a couple operators I've met and seen how they do it, and it's really impressive. And what better signal to a client to trust you than be able to tell them like, oh, here's the P&L for my e-com brand that I run. I started from scratch, and I personally cash flow this. Like I invest in with my own money,
Mhm.
and we're growing that. So I think it'll add another layer to like this is not your typical agency. We don't just talk the talk, like we walk the walk, and I'm putting real money into scaling a product brand, and I think that will speak volumes to the quality of work we do.
Mhm.
So that's also an ambition of mine over the next, hopefully within the next year as well. Maybe launch some product for Q4 and test something out, but we'll see. I've had a brand concept for like over a year that I never moved on. It's
Yeah.
top of mind, but I'm trying not to get, flashy object
Mm.
distraction
Yeah.
over here and just focus on the growth of the agency.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. I look forward to seeing that. So if someone is watching, and who would qualify as like that quality client that you're looking for, and what what challenges do they have, or who would you want to reach out to, and how do you want them to reach out?
Yeah. So we work with Shopify brands in particular. So if you're running an e-commerce business on Shopify, we work with brands that are just launching and helping them actually launch their store, launch their product, and do it the right way to start hitting their first, 5, 10K a month in revenue and get them to a place to scale. And then all the way up to brands that are already doing probably like 1 million to 5 million a year, but they haven't really been able to crack paid ads the way that they know they can to scale faster. And so for those, we act more as like a full growth partner, and we're helping them achieve, either monthly revenue targets or annual revenue targets through paid ads and creative and all the services we provide. So that's a wide scope, but if you have a Shopify store and you're like, man, this should be growing faster than it is right now, or I need help launching this, I really believe in my product. That's kind of where we start. And yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can also go to our website, interlace.digital. You can book a call right there. You can actually throw something right on my calendar, and I'm always down for free strategy calls. I give out as much advice as I can. And if it feels like we're a partner that you actually want to work with, then we can have that conversation. But I'm always trying to just provide value to people up front as well. So they kind of get a feel for how we work and, just genuinely enjoy helping other founders
Mhm.
too.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. It was cool to catch up again. It's been a while, and hopefully someone sees us and either they reach out because they want to, take their brand to what they know it can be, or someone is trying to start their own agency. They can pick up on some of the pitfalls that we've both avoided and
Absolutely.
go faster. So thanks.
Thanks, man. We'll put some ads behind this. So if you are watching, we'll make sure you see it.